Welcome to the Town Council Work Session, November 6, 2025. If I could get a roll call, please.
Newman present.
Holloway present.
Buckles present.
Buda present.
Grossman present.
Ashworth present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum, and before we get started this evening, Libby is going to read something into the record.
I think all of you knew Billy Powell, who worked for the town for almost 34 years on our Public Utilities Department. He started in June of 1990 and worked with the town until April of 24, when the public utilities were sold to Virginia American Water. He was a dedicated employee of the town and was also a member of the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company for 43 years. He served with honor, loyalty, and compassion. Billy passed away on Monday, November 3rd, and his funeral service with firefighter honors will be held this Saturday, November 8th, beginning at 11 a.m. at the Cape Charles Fire Company. The town would like to honor Billy for his many years of service. We thought about sending flowers for the service, but his obituary requested that in lieu of flowers, memorial donations be made to the Cape Charles Fire Company or St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. In honor of his wishes, the town will be making a $100 memorial donation to the Cape Charles Fire Company.
And if we could all just take a moment of silence for Billy. Thank you. All right. Now, on to the review of zoning ordinance, text amendments, Article 8, Historic District Overlay.
So I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I know this is a work session, but I've invited Claudette to go ahead and lead the presentation. She's created a slideshow, and she's going to talk through it and then allow us to have questions and answers and go from there. So Claudette, you can take it away.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? I guess first, thank you to everybody. There's a lot of people over the years that have got us to this point, between town staff, the planning commission, town council, volunteers from the civic league. So this is not just the work of the four of us of this subcommittee. This is kind of just the next step based on everything that Katie's drafted up over the last year, which was a great first draft. And so I think that's, hopefully that has been voiced well throughout the civic league meetings and things like that. Every time we bring it up, we don't want to diminish everybody's achievements to get to this point. So one thing, just so everybody knows why we're here, you guys have the packets in front of you. What I did was the original information packet that Rick had put out to the public. This is all of that information just in a much easier flow of a format that kind of puts it all in a little bit better frame of mind as we go through it. So kind of some of these slides are just going to preface the work that we did, how we got there, and then as much or as little as you want to actually dive into the actual Appendix G, we can do that at the kind of second part of this. So just a quick reminder, and one thing I want you to keep in mind is part of the Cape Charles Historic District Overlay Design Guides. So a lot of this came in, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, but kind of routine maintenance and repairs is a big part of what Appendix G is trying to give more clarity, not only for property owners, but for town staff, the Historic District Board, and everyone that needs to make these decisions on this type of work. And so currently in the design guidelines, something I think that is very important that we need to kind of keep in mind as we have this discussion is routine maintenance of contributing buildings is critical to ensure that the historic fabric and character of the property will be retained for future generations. Proper maintenance extends the natural life of building materials and thus reduces financial outlay in the long run. A proper cyclical maintenance plan also helps identify early signs that a building material is nearing the end of its lifespan, which enables the owner time to plan for replacement of historic materials and avoid secondary damage to the building. So we all have the common goal, and I read that to remind us, we all have the common goal to want to repair all of these historic structures in town and ensure them not only for us, but for future people that want to come be part of our historic district and the charm and character that we always strive to maintain. Particularly, it's highlighted in our strategic plan also. So we are not going to dive into all of the nitty-gritty of trials and tribulations and challenges that got us here. I really want this to be productive and have us move forward. So based on some challenges that kind of town and property owners were having in terms of clarity, the town attorney reviewed Article 8, determined that some additional elements for repair and renovation within the historic district really needed to be clarified. And so then you, as town council for the work session, these premises that you kind of determined needed to be included in the ordinance are what helped us as the committee determine how to take this table to the next step. So Appendix G to the next place that we're going to go. So clarity of process and approvals, detailed listing on the types of work, whether it's renovation, repair, which require no review, does it require review from the zoning administrator, and then subsequently any review from the historic district review board. So amend revisions, kind of be clear and distinct when it comes to definitions of routine maintenance, minor work, and major work. And then what is the level of review that really is required for each of those types of work. And so, like I said, the Planning Commission has gone through the actual language of Section 8 of the Historic District Overlay, the ordinance itself, and then town staff produced Appendix G, which was really the crux of the details. So this is kind of meant to be, homeowners could pick this up, they can look through it, they can figure out what their project looks like, and they're like, it's this, it's this, it's this. If they have questions, they could have more clear questions to ask town staff. And so everybody's going to work from the same page when it comes to the types of work, and it gives just a clearer picture for homeowners of what they can do. And so this is where our subcommittee came in as part of the Civic League. Myself, Ed Wells, Councilman Grossman, and Councilman Newman literally sat with Appendix G around my dining room table for a good 14 or 15 hours, hashing it out. And so there's things that we agreed on, there's things we didn't agree on, but we feel that we were able to come up with a pretty extensive list to provide more types of work of anything you could really do on a historic structure. I think between the four of us, we have remodeled a number of historic homes and structures, and so hopefully that will become clear. And I also want to say, don't get bogged down. The track changes in here it's extensive, but it's also just things are making it more clear. It looks more complicated than it really is.
Is there a printed copy of that? You just printed your own?
I just printed
Okay.
mine because I didn't think I could read it.
Yeah, I can't either on it. Okay, I was having envy. Does that exist somewhere? I'll take it.
If I can pull it up on my computer, I can read it from there, and I
Yeah.
can give you my copy when we get to it.
No, I'm good. I can.
And so, the reality of,
I'm so special. Thank you.
yeah, the track changes are
I
a
am
lot.
special.
So based on how we got here, what the first draft was, we wanted to be clear in what our subcommittee goals were, to make sure they were in line with what our understanding of what town council was kind of expecting, and for this work product to move forward. So ensuring clarity for property owners, town staff, the Historic District Review Board, and town council. We want to make sure everyone is on the same page, because we've been on different pages for different parts of this, and so the idea is to make one uniform document. Again, even our draft is not perfect, and people might come up with other solutions during the public hearings, but we think we were able to take the onus off town staff's time so they could focus on other things and get us to the next second stage. So again, evaluate Appendix G for completeness of work on those types of work and the categories. Based on those types of work, develop proper classifications for the work. ensure that luckily Paul is on the committee, so anytime we had an ordinance question, he could dive into that, and making sure we were being consistent with the ordinance, or where did we have to make maybe some minor tweaks to the language in those ordinances. We wanted to provide another level where the building code official was involved, and so you'll see that on the next slide how we did that. We wanted to make sure that as people looked through these projects, they didn't think that they just had to go to planning when they indeed might have to also go through the building code official. So we kind of incorporated that. And overall, it truly is an attempt to streamline and simplify the process for routine maintenance and reducing town workload and repetitive work that they might be doing. So we're hoping that this will be a product that will make everyone more efficient on how we go through this process. So again, if you haven't seen it as in nauseam, just that Appendix G, for us on the committee, it probably is ingrained in our brains. So to break what was listed in our kind of email with all of our findings, again, these are just broken down to make it a little bit more clear and succinct for overall what we thought our comments were. Again, the table and how this format was developed by town staff is very beneficial. It is clear. It's alphabetically, you can pick the parts of your project, go to each of those sections, and it's consistent. So we think that it really does provide the public with a better way to self-evaluate their projects before they come to town staff with any questions, whether it's a major project, a minor project, or routine maintenance. We agree that the 3 classifications of work that were developed are sufficient. Routine maintenance, minor work, and major work. Those definitions, we have one little tweak that we'll get to for repairs, but overall, I think that captures the essence of what town council thought those types of work should be. Again, you can see where we added this new column where the building code official would be able to just give a person, property owner, a chance to ensure that they weren't missing something. And so this is where, for this next phase, we probably get Jed to take a look at the cleaned up version and then go down and check off what he thinks is appropriate for the things that he has to be involved in, or whoever the building code official is. But really that does also make sure that people understand they don't just have to go to planning and then they're done, when they really might have to go to the building code official also. So just to get everybody on the same page, feel free to stop and ask questions anytime.
Just to emphasize on that one, I think there's been occasion where we've had people go to one office or the other, get approvals, and think they're walking away with
Yeah.
overall town approval. So that's all we were suggesting, is identifying.
I just have to correct that.
Go ahead.
Every documentation out of our office relative to any approvals or activity that we are signing off on historic district, we tell them they must see the building official. So it's not that they've never been informed of that. Every time they were being told that, they may disregard that direction.
Okay, appreciate the clarification.
And I can
Okay.
tell you right now, Jeff probably gonna be able to tell you this, but not that one. He's gonna require to review everything to see the scope of work, because that will depend of whether it requires a building review, building permit or not.
If it's above routine maintenance.
Potentially even some of your routine maintenance, depending on.
Well,
what-
you have language in
what
the
you're
ordinance,
doing.
you have language right now that says a building permit isn't required for routine maintenance.
So again, I don't know what we've all put in here at this point, that's why we're going through it tonight,
Okay.
Paul.
All right?
So all I'm saying, sometimes Jeff will say, you don't need a permit to replace this amount of siding. But if you do this much of your siding, that you're gonna need a permit for. So that's a building code determination. I can't tell you specifically what those are. He has made that based upon the scope of work somebody's telling him they're doing. That's all.
I do think that, thank you for the clarification, that when Jed does get his hands on this, that there might be language that he wants to insert here for clarity also. So again, like, this is not the final by any means. This is, still has to get planning staff input on it and clarification, the planning commission, town council, Jeb, we're just presenting it as the first place to start of what our subcommittee came up with. And so, some place is better than no place. And so having something for him to react to, I think is a better process. And we'll see how he comments as it goes forward. So again, just reminding, these were the definitions from planning staff that they developed, so you're clear as we go through the table what routine maintenance is versus minor work versus major work. And so really, routine maintenance, types of exterior work that keep the property in good condition. Such projects include any repair where there is no change is made to the appearance of the structure or site. And so you dive into that a little bit more, where routine maintenance would not require the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness by staff or the Historic District Review Board. The property owner must check with the department that the project is consistent and considered routine maintenance. At the direction of the department, an application for routine maintenance may be forwarded to the Historic District Review Board if the work is questionable as to whether it is consistent with the Cape Charles Historic District Overlay Design Guidelines. So we've got a couple slides. We'll give you a little bit of a tweak that we have for the routine maintenance category, but I wanted to tell you where we started and then where we went to. Minor work projects do not substantially alter the visual characteristic of the structure or site. Kind of diving into that, where minor work require an application and an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness. They may be approved by the department if the proposed work is consistent with the design guidelines. If the department does not approve the application, or if the work is questionable as to whether it is consistent with the historic guidelines, design guidelines, an application for minor work may be forwarded to the Historic District Review Board. So major work, in a nutshell, if it's not routine, it's not minor, it doesn't fall into major. So those projects that involve a change in the appearance of the building or site and are more substantial than routine maintenance or minor projects. They include changes from the original design or material or replacement, alteration or removal of the original feature. Major projects, as you would suspect, require an application, the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness by the Historic District Review Board. So hopefully that, we just want to make sure people are on the same page. So from what our findings were, so it's page 5 of your packet, if you're following along the packet, but it's also another number slides are on here. Section 8.16, which is the description of proposed work, kind of under section A, you see that box in yellow is routine maintenance. So for routine maintenance classification activities, we are proposing that this is not requiring formal staff review and concurrence. Owners, so property owners, will be required to notify the town electronically and can proceed with work falling within the bounds of the category. Caution has been added that the staff may stop work should the work fall outside the bounds of this category. So it is putting the onus on the homeowner to be truthful about what they're saying they're doing, because if they go outside of the bounds of what they say, they could have the work stopped and they could be fined. It will be incumbent for the town staff that they would review those notifications, so that would be an email submission. And I don't know if you can read it very well in the printouts that you have. The changes would be routine maintenance will not require the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness by staff or the Historic District Review Board. The property owner will inform the department electronically of the scope of the project and that the project is consistent with routine maintenance. There will be no fee associated with routine maintenance and work can start immediately. The staff will acknowledge receipt. At the discretion of the department, a notification for routine maintenance may be deemed questionable as to the proper classification and may require further approvals. Work may be stopped until proper approvals are received. So that has somewhat been working already within town for routine maintenance things. The homeowner or the property owner simply sends an email. Generally, they've been going to Tracy, so she can comment on how that's affecting your workload on the number that are coming in.
Actually, this is gonna make it harder on my workload because they're not telling us what they're doing, and my Eagle Eye folks that walk every day we're gonna have more complaint calls or more calls saying, do you know this is doing this? So why I ask people to send me a routine maintenance email is so I can tell them, yes, I know they're doing this, the town knows about it. If not, that's gonna be requiring me to leave to the office, take pictures, stop the homeowner. So that's why we were trying to change it up with us, where at least they were contacting us no matter what. Because if somebody gets into something and doesn't contact us and then starts changing stuff, some of the historic structure is already gone. We've had it happen in the past, so that's why we changed it up in 22, was it?
22.
I'm confused.
Am I missing it?
I think that says
That's what we
that.
said, is we have to,
She's saying, no, this was saying that they didn't need to on.
No, it's
no, it
Uh-huh.
simply
They
will,
still have to send something too.
And they have to
Yeah,
say
I was
what it
asking
is.
If you've noticed how that's changed your workload, are you getting more routine emails? Is that taking
Well,
away
no,
from your
it's not
time?
by email allowed today.
Correct.
Currently, on anything, you have to submit an application. You're saying in this process, there is no application, they just send us an electronic communication. And then again, if they don't, I'm not exactly sure what the penalty is, because it's not really a requirement. So that's my
Start
first
meeting.
concern, the way this is drafted, is we've moved away from what was a requirement of filling out an application that they have to attest to, that this is truthful in everything that they're doing. We have the full scope of work, and then we make the determination, is this routine maintenance? Does that require a fee? No fee, who approves? Or if it's just as easy, you're good, you can do the work, go for it. And we get a documentation out to that effect. Usually a letter, an email goes to you.
With that application that you're talking about, Katie, do they have to pay a fee?
No, if it's routine maintenance, but I can't answer somebody when they ask me, is there a fee? I don't know till you submit your
Okay,
application.
so let's
I review your
assume
scope
it's-
of work.
Let's assume it falls under the scope of work of routine maintenance as outlined by
Then we
this
tell them
committee.
there is no fee, we've
There
approved the
is no
scope of
fee.
work, and they are good to
Actually,
commence.
Claudette just went through this.
Yes.
So why couldn't you just have it be a very simple application that would sort of qualify as part of this, like an email?
I would say there's probably a little bit of a training component, so everybody understands your email for routine maintenance needs to include this information specific to your project.
If we make it a form that gets filled out
Yeah.
online, so that there are fields and you put that
Right.
stuff in there,
Absolutely.
then
It's-
that will
That's
solve
That's
it.
another
That's an
application.
application.
It's an application.
But it's
I have no
the
problem with
same-
an application.
It's the same as
We
a,
already
My,
have that.
my question to that though is what's the turnaround time on that application? Because that's the big thing in here is immediately is down in red. So what's the turnaround time now for someone putting in routine maintenance? How fast they gonna answer back if they can get started on work?
It could be as quick as 2 hours, or it could be, take a day or 2 days, depending
Okay.
on what the workload is coming through.
All right, so
So
you,
that's-
how about using your example
I'm
that they
talking-
just referenced? You just went through
So I've
this.
done two.
Go ahead.
So I wrote an email, my downstairs air conditioning unit died. And so I had this huge monstrosity of a unit that's 20 years old in the backyard. When that unit came out, all of the ductwork under my house came out, and I just put in a very simple mini split unit for my downstairs. Well, taking that ductwork out from under the house now caused a hole in the foundation. I obviously had a foundation there at one time. I just was requested in the email that I could replace the foundation. It would be put back, obviously, to fill in the hole like everything else. My foundation is painted, so once that got done, everything cured, I could touch up the paint and kind of have it be consistent. And I did that over an email. I sent it and got a response back. Maybe was it within the day or maybe a day later, I don't recall the exact time frame. But it was, I did that in advance of knowing that I needed a contractor to come, obviously put the bricks in. So when they came, I could go, I've already have approval, there's not something else I need to do from town. So that was a very simple process. And I don't doubt that we would have to train people a little bit, of what you needed to include. You have to give town enough information in that email to show that it truly is maintained, you know, the definition of routine maintenance.
I'm comfortable with, though, instead of it being an email that leaves a lot up to interpretation, to creating an online, a very simple Google form, for example, that just stipulates exactly these things that you were talking about. Instead of having to train, here are the 5 things we need to know, and then that just gets submitted rather
Yeah,
than
Google Forms a great idea.
Yeah.
something
Because
like
you
that.
can asterisk certain things that they can't go any further
Further.
unless they have
Number
it
one,
in
we
there.
don't have Google Forms, but we have, every one of our forms is a PDF fillable form.
Why don't we have Google
Yeah, why
Forms?
can't we
Doesn't
do-
the universe have Google Forms? I
Or
thought-
does your system just not allow, do you guys block Google?
We've created everything as a Microsoft Word document, it's then been converted over to a PDF, and it's a fillable PDF. It's just like a Google Doc.
Yes, except
But-
that it
Fill it
doesn't,
out.
you can't download it into an Excel spreadsheet and have it be sortable and trackable that way, can you? I mean, I'm not here
And
to
you
tell you
also
how
can't
to.
stop them. Like, if they fill out one and not fill out the other, the form will still go on it.
I don't know what you mean, fill out one
If you
versus.
don't
So when
put
you
your
start
last
filling out,
name-
if you don't have all the
Yeah.
information filled, they can still submit that form and it'll go through. If it's like a Google Doc and you have it
When they're
asterisk,
submitting it, there's just emailing it to us. It's not going into a database, it's
have a
not
submit.
going into anything of that nature.
Right, but they can still send you incomplete applications.
that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
everybody knows.
Right.
That's
But
my
that's
point.
why
If they
doing a
had
fillable
this.
form, like a Google form, you can't do that. You can block them from sending.
Correct.
Do y'all use Google?
No, we do not.
How come? I mean, and this is obviously a sidetrack.
Because it hasn't been at the top of the priority list in
Okay.
all the things I've been doing in this department to fix over the last 3 years.
I'm
That's
so
all.
sorry, that was not,
okay.
any way an indictment on what you've been doing. It was a question of, is there a security reason we don't use
No.
Google? Is there any sort, okay, so literally I could walk in tomorrow and create a Google form for you to use that I think would probably be 10 times more simple.
I'm not gonna
than
say
this
it wouldn't be
process.
simple, Tara, but there's so many other priorities in our department that we are trying to stand up first before
Understood, but
we
this is
change
part,
that.
but this is part of the simplification process that
And
we're talking
I'm
about.
just asking the question. I mean, the new website, does that provide a, like, click this button on the homepage for routine maintenance and that brings you to the form? Is that something the IT contractor for the website?
You have to go out, find the form,
develops?
fill the form
You
out,
have to create
send it
forms.
in.
You have to create
And then
all
if
that.
it's not filled out correctly, you send it back to them and say, you need to do this again.
My highlighted forms and very detailed email, as Claudette can tell you. She
Right.
received a very detailed email, and then most of them get it back to me. Or if they don't have that information, then they at least let me know if they've got to come down and get pictures, or they're getting their neighbors to send me pictures or something. Most of the time it's pictures, but, yeah.
I guess creating a form would super simplify that process for you because as
That's one of like 15 forms for our department.
Yeah.
So there's only one form gonna be a
I'm
Google
not gonna
form,
dial
all the rest
across
will be
the
something
Google form,
different.
but I do think that.
We were
in terms
recommending
of-
that essentially, that once the homeowner, because they understood it was routine maintenance, they also put the onus on themselves if they're untruthful about the routine maintenance, that they could have their work stopped or have a fine, but, you know, they're answering the questions of, is it like for like materials? Will it look the same as, you know, once you do the repair? And they could start the work.
I agree,
Right.
Claudette, I think we should be, the aim here should be allowing homeowners to exercise their right and responsibility to maintain and repair their own homes. And if we don't have a system in place that allows that to happen expeditiously, we're failing our community.
Then
So,
why don't we just allow them to do what they think is routine maintenance and just do it?
That's what we're saying.
Not
yeah,
even have to submit anything to us, just say they're
Would be
doing
happy
routine
with,
maintenance.
would be happy with that too.
I can live with that.
And that's
They
why,
have a
that's why we
solution.
coupled it with the repairs and changing the definition of repair to eliminate the equivalent. Because you always get in that argument in the historic district, right? I'm changing this siding to this, well,
They
it's
change
equivalent.
material, that is not like for like.
That is correct, but that's why we wanted to say repairs should be like for like as language, and that was one of our
As
proposed
opposed to
changes
equivalent.
there.
And by giving a notification via email, there's a record of somebody saying, hey, you said you were going to do this, and that's not what you're doing. How does your example, though, differ from what you're proposing? Like you sent an email and then got an email back saying, Cool. What's the difference?
Um,
Because there was no form involved
There was
there.
no form. No,
So why is
but
that not okay?
I knew enough to put the language in there that it was like for like materials, you know, I know I had a
Right.
foundation there prior to the air conditioning getting
So
installed at some
where's
point.
the disconnect then on that? Like, because you said you want a form, not just an
Well,
email
you're-
I
saying.
didn't say if,
Again, your example of the chimney, right, the
So
stucco.
The chimney,
Re-
yeah, so the
involve the
chimney, second example was that you are all, everyone in this room is familiar with, everyone online is probably familiar with. I have an existing chimney that has an existing stucco facade on it. That stucco over time is starting to crack and fall off. And so I put in an email, assuming that I didn't need anything from the Historic District Review Board because it was maintenance, but I would probably need something from the building code official, the $50 permit, because somebody's gonna have to climb on my roof to actually replace the stucco. And so when I sent that information in, it turned out to no, because it was my chimney, even though it was like for like, same material, it was gonna look exactly the same, other than it's not going to be cracked anymore and pieces falling off, that I had to go through the Historic District Review Board.
And what was the
And I-
reason you had to do
no,
that?
can I,
Because
that
it was
was,
the chimney.
can I say something?
Go right
Since it was
ahead.
my email, and yes, the town manager was copied in on it. I never said you had to go to the historic review board.
This
We
was
asked
a
you
year
to.
ago.
We asked
A
you.
year, I submitted the same project, my chimney was over a year ago, and had to go to the Historic District Review Board. Because of this exercise, I resubmitted the same exact information, saying, it was literally verbatim email from over a year ago about the chimney repair, and it came back for the second time, I had to fill out these forms.
Because it's a chimney, and we've seen chimneys, if people are doing routine maintenance, we've seen them come down. So we like to know exactly what you're doing with the chimney, because that is a
Again,
huge part.
in-
So we just needed you to fill out the application to clarify. You didn't have
but
to.
that actually wasn't how it went down. It was, you need to fill out these applications, and I was like, what other information could you possibly need in the application that I'm not already telling you in the email? It was very clear in the email. It then, you told me I had to come in for a, application meeting, and I was like, from Wednesday, whatever the time is, between 1 and 3, and I was like, but again, I'm going to come there, I'm going to take off work, I'm going to come there and not know what other information you need because you couldn't tell me.
It's because we were going back and forth, so sometimes I try to get people to come in so I know exactly what they're trying to do.
Let's not do a one-off right now and turn this into a whole debate. So let's just end
It was
this.
very
And
clear.
the bottom line is, and I'm just gonna give you my opinion on this. If it's going back like for like, and it's gonna be exactly the same, there should be no reason that anything should have to be done. I mean, I'm with you. If it's routine maintenance, abolish all.
That's what the subcommittee agreement, we're fine with that. We would rather not have to try and track emails coming in and making sure we do timely, what is defined as timely. We'd rather say, if this is routine, then that's it. You get to do it under routine, no application.
Because in this town, if a chimney's coming down, someone's gonna see it, someone's gonna report it. And, you know, what are you gonna do at that point? You're gonna find them, because the chimney's already down, they're not gonna put it back up. So,
So,
It is what it is.
but with that, would you have to, again, change the repair such that we do eliminate the equivalent and put in a like for like? So it's real
We'll come to
clear?
that next. Again, I just want to hit, I know we're talking about multiple issues at the same time, so right now, I'm just saying process-wise, if we've defined it as a routine, and you agree to this chart, everything is routine, nobody has to come to us, they don't have to send us an email, they don't have to fill out an application, they don't have to pay a thing, they're gonna do routine work, they can do routine work.
And we're happy with that. Yeah, I'm
that's
happy
it.
with
We
that.
thought it was a compromise, that you'd want a log of the things that people would
I mean,
want to do.
they're only trying to live up to what's previously been put in the book that they're supposed to follow. So if we're saying that we want to change up the rules, then they can have a new job definition of what they're supposed to be responsible for. I hope we can get, I don't know why everything in life these days has to feel so contentious. Like, we're not trying to attack you. You know, you guys have your own situation and history. We're just trying to make things easier for you, make it easier for us to live here and just do basic stuff. There's no like attacking. I know, Katie, you've got 900 million things on your list. Nobody's saying we expect this to be done by the end of the month. We're just trying to have a meeting and talk about how we move things forward. And I hope everybody can kind of keep that in context as we talk through these things. The fact that we all got together was not an indictment on the Appendix G and that it was not a good effort at it. We're just like, well, hey, now's the time. Like, you guys don't have the hours that we put into it to do what we did, to think through 900 little scenarios of, well, what if they want to place this brick on the others? You know, we thought through a lot of things. I mean,
But it gives-
and
it
we're
gives
trying
a-
to make it easier for everybody. So anyway, I just hope we can all
It gives
keep
a
that in
starting
mind.
place for you guys who deal with it on a regular basis to ask the what-ifs, which we want, because you don't know that, you know, so you went through and did kind of that initial kind of detailed work, and now we're at a place where we're working through that next step.
All right, so are we at a consensus then that no need for even an email?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah.
Until the neighbors start calling.
Well,
Yeah, I have
That's why we
some,
thought they'd
I have
go
some
with that.
concerns about that, just because I think people there's some that just are good rule followers, and they'll kind of interpret
You
just
get
as it
that
is.
regardless of
But
whether you even have a historic district?
I think as I know what they have to deal
COA.
with the complaints, the nosy, you know, Nellies kind of coming with their list from doing their walk, you
That's
know.
why, to me,
And they're not going
it seemed like where we arrived at
Yeah.
was you're letting them know.
Right.
Then there's
what's
a
wrong with
record of
doing
the
that?
fact that, hey, you've thought about what you said you were going to do and that it was routine
Mm-hmm.
maintenance. And you can't, after the fact, then say, oh, I thought that was okay. I thought that was routine maintenance. You said, hey, I'm painting my exterior of my house, or I'm replacing my front door with the exact same door that I had before, but it's not rotten, and that's what I'm doing. And then suddenly, if the nosy neighbor wants to say, well, they got the whole front of their house torn off, is that what they're supposed to be doing? Then we inject and say, hey, right here you said you were doing this, and you veered off the path.
But
So
now
that's,
there's no record of it,
Right.
yeah.
is what you're saying. You guys don't want any record of anything
If it's-
routine
If
maintenance.
it's routine maintenance, then it should be obvious it's routine maintenance, they're following this chart. And if we start to find that this continues to be violated, then that means the chart is not specific or clear enough. We come back to you with saying we've had enough complaints, we've had to issue stop work orders, we've issued violations now because people have not done routine maintenance work. Even though they felt that was routine maintenance, somewhere we've missed the mark here. So yeah, I'm finding trying to live in that quasi world that you painted in here at the moment is probably not the most effective. And so I think if we're saying this is routine maintenance, we're trying to make it easier for the homeowner, let's make it easier.
Agreed.
Okay.
I agree.
So I think if we just include a statement that says, you know, if you stray from routine maintenance, as defined in this chart, there will be potentially a stop work order and a fine if you have done something else. Just so that people know.
Yeah.
You know, don't push the envelope here.
And that goes up top.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they can't call and consult with us to say, we just want to verify, is this really
Sure.
routine maintenance? We will answer those calls, but they're not going to be required to submit anything to us.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to get.
And hopefully the new G or whatever we end up landing on will have enough clarity in it so that you should be able to figure it out. That's why I like we put painting, even though it's alphabetically later listed, we put that right at the top because that's the thing we all do most often. But yeah, hopefully you can, you know, I just always, I don't really put that much faith in homeowners as somebody who had a contracting business for many years. And like, that's why we wanted to add that code official inspection, because a lot of people view inspection as a building inspection, not a zoning inspection. So I'm always kind of trying to like bring down the baseline to a level that people can follow and make sure they don't go astray.
Great, so we're all in agreement, you can strike that out of this, correct? Right, yeah.
So I just have, Claudette, are you going to be making any of these further changes to this document? Or is it now back to me and my staff to make these edits that are coming out tonight? What's the full
Our
process?
committee would certainly take that off your plate to clean it up and put the
Okay.
edits in. If
Yeah.
you'd like us to revise the language as well as, because Libby is graciously taking notes, as well as record it so I can go back and get everybody's exact verbiage. But yes, if you like us to make these notations and provide them to you, we can certainly do that. As well as if you'd like a cleaned up version. So essentially, the next document you would see of Appendix G, we'd go through, make all of the changes, put it in alphabetical order.
Well, I'm presuming hopefully tonight, that's what council's doing. We're gonna get to all the changes they agreed to. And so that's where we're
Yeah,
gonna
and,
be.
yeah, a
is
lot of,
their-
like,
what
the
is gonna be
formatting
their
is-
zoning text amendment proposal.
But then make it a clean copy for which,
Yes,
Everyone
that would
would-
be a clean copy of their zoning text proposal. That's what we're trying to get to.
yes. So all the track changes would be gone, then
Yes.
Jed could put his input on it. You can get a fresh set of eyes without all the track changes, because it does make it confusing. We would gladly do that as a committee. Can we move on? So that same section, right above it, the definition of repairs is where you would get that clarity for people that want to do routine maintenance. And so the definition of repair would change from equivalent to like-for-like material. And so it's just a note that it's here in section 8.16 in that yellow box, so it would now read, repairs are any and all work involving the replacement of existing work with like-for-like material for the purpose of maintenance, but not including any addition, change, modification in construction.
So if a material was no longer, like, they don't make that stuff anymore, then that can't be a repair.
Correct.
Even though it looks the same and functions the same.
Correct. That's what we're proposing.
Yeah.
And in full disclosure, we were 50-50, half of us were like in favor of one way this definition went, half of us were in favor of another way. We'd still be sitting at my dining room table if we did not just come to a consensus to let you guys decide what you wanted it to be. And go from there.
To me, that phrase like for like is ambiguous.
It is, that's why we had equivalent, because I can tell you that we know someone who just replaced, you're never gonna find the historic wood. It's gonna be different, so that's why for some things that's why some places we put equivalent, because it's not gonna be like.
Okay, so you open,
So, I mean,
for
our
us,
view
we
was,
would,
yeah.
you would open up a bag of worms there to have now the public interpret what equivalent is, whereas like for like is wood
Wood for
gets
wood.
replaced with wood. Now, maybe antique wood with whatever I can buy now, but it's wood for wood.
Excuse me, I deal with a lot of applicants, and
Go ahead.
maybe if you want like for like, maybe we list some examples.
That'll be fine.
Wouldn't the phrase exactly the same? I mean, that's what like for like is, this is kind of the same. That's how I interpret
Yeah,
like
but
for
we're
like.
going back into the design guideline language, right?
Right,
Like for
I was
like
gonna say.
equivalents, so we're trying to use,
Brick for brick.
but examples would be a good,
Yeah, like brick for brick or wood for wood.
We were trying to get away from if somebody wanted a front porch. They have a wood deck now, they wanted to replace it with composite.
Yeah.
They'd have to go,
Correct.
Yeah,
yeah,
that would not
that's
fall.
not like for like.
And so we'll have a discussion about some things that might open up at the public hearing that people would have concerns on that we identified. This would be one of them.
Yeah.
But however you want to make the language more clear for what like for like means is certainly,
So I have a question. Normally in Cape Charles, since I don't know, I haven't been here a whole year yet, so I won't know what the normalcy is. But is it pretty normal if somebody does a project like that? They have a deck, they're wanting to replace it with a different material, but they're like, oh, this is like for like. Is it normal for someone to say, no, you can't do it, then they call you and you're aware of it?
Most of it, yeah.
Okay.
most of the time.
So it kind of works its way out then. You'll find out, and then you'll have to come back and put, stop work order, come talk to me, let's work this out, and then you find out that that is not at all repair. This is an actual application you have to submit.
if they're gonna change material, they have to submit an application, and if they're changing material, it's not something I can approve administratively, nor would it be defined as routine.
Right, but you
That
give them the
would-
parameters
That
from
would
there.
require going to the Historic District Review Board for them to sign off on the material change.
I'm just trying to think of an example of somebody saying, oh, this is like for like, but in the reality, it's not. Will that get flagged usually?
No, it may not.
No, it may not, that's why we're
Not
trying
unless
to
somebody
define what is-
turns
what
you
is a
in or
repair.
something, sorry.
Yes.
I mean, the easiest example is like tongue and groove porch flooring.
Yep.
Wood versus an AZAC. And, you know,
But how about when you have a different species of wood? You know, mahogany as opposed to oak.
Well, you may not be able to get.
That's still wood, right?
It's
Wood for wood.
The only, yeah,
and if it's
I know where you're going with that.
I don't know what kind of wood it is.
I think like for like with some examples is good, and if you're trying to change it up,
Examples should go in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Because, I mean, let's pick on Paul's shed for a minute, because if you're gonna change up the sills, it's gonna be wood, but you're never gonna find that type of wood anymore. So he's either gonna have to fabricate something out of pressure treated wood or whatever. It's not gonna be that hard pine or whatever it was that was there.
But he'd have to go to Historic District Review Board for that.
No.
No,
No,
No.
it's like for like.
Wood
Wood for wood.
repair.
Wood for wood repair,
That piece
so
of silt.
It's
yeah.
just a,
As long as it's
one
not
piece
right
of
back
wood.
AZAC,
Let
it's
me
fine.
give an example then, or a question of, so the ceiling of a porch, which in many houses is tongue and groove.
Wood.
Wood.
Wood, yes. But you replace it with T111, which looks like it, which is wood. Is that like for like, wood for wood?
No,
Is
it's.
T111
it's
wood?
plywood.
Yes.
It's
Plywood.
still,
Well, it's still wood.
Still wood.
but it's not beadboard.
I mean, you're getting into like,
It's a
is it
different
plywood?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it's a different
composite,
design.
like what grade of plywood, but it's still all plywood.
T111 has been, we can't even put sheds up at T111.
Never
So
even heard that
We haven't
term
been able to
before.
do that
let's
for
say
20-some years.
material for
I've never heard that term in my life.
Instead of like for
I've learned
like,
something
I
new.
think material for material instead of like for like, maybe we're going too down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
We are going down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
I think like for like is a standard term.
Yeah,
Is it?
It's an
Oh.
industry standard.
I would.
But it is up for interpretation as far as what
Absolutely.
like for like is, for sure.
well, like for like, but with examples. I thought that's where we ended up.
Okay, but if it's a standardized term,
Yeah, that's gonna come down to the historic review board. I mean, if the species of wood is different, that's gonna be up to them.
Well, it'll never
It
get to
shouldn't
them.
be.
it doesn't even get
It won't
there.
even get to them
No.
because it's wood for wood.
Yep.
I mean, if they have a problem, they might have a question.
But I think we don't want HDRB saying no for a deck. Pine is not acceptable, it needs to be.
Right, because then we get back to where we used to
We were there
be.
before.
We have been there before.
And it's a challenge because actually, like the Virginia Department of Historic Resources,
Yeah,
they are in practice allowing historic structures to use composite materials.
Yes.
So if it looks like wood, it acts like wood,
But you still gotta
but
get it
it's a
approved.
composite material because they know
But-
it's going to last longer and
Right.
that's going to save the structure from having to
And
do
we're
more
not-
maintenance.
we're not saying you can't use composite or alternate materials, there's a process.
You just need to go through it.
Guidelines
Yeah.
to make your argument for
Right.
that alternative material, and that's for the
Right.
historic board to say, okay, we
it's
get
not
it,
a like
we-
for like, so it needs to go to, you
Right.
have that.
We kind of even put it in there that that could be something that could be administratively
Yes.
handled in the office rather than going to the historic district review
Not
board.
not for material changes, that's actually not
But we're
Proposing that we
there's
would.
going to be
we're
ordinance
changing the
changes, so
ordinance.
that should be a change where. it
Because
doesn't-
that would be an easy,
Yeah, like
'Cause-
somebody
Approval.
that's going from a wood deck to a composite deck, it's going to look like their deck from the street. With the materials, it's going to ensure that you don't have derelict materials and less kind of maintenance for the homeowner.
right.
And so that's something you're, repetitive things that you'll see all the time. Is there really a need to pay for the homeowner to pay the $500 to go to the Historic District Review Board when we know these examples would fall within line of something that would be a normal routine maintenance? You're going to have to replace your deck, and if they choose to do composite, it would go through an administrative process and not a Historic District Review Board process.
Like right now, if I have the best porch ceiling example is that same material that's above the chair rail on the walls here, that beadboard that here is stained, but on most historical homes in Cape Charles, it's that exact panel board painted white or blue or whatever. You can buy that exact to the millimeter material in AZAC. and paint it white or blue, just like the other one was. Is that like for like? Or if it's not like for like, can you administratively approve it?
No, if it's a material change, it goes to the board.
See, like that's
So then we
something,
can change that order.
wherever that is in our ordinance or where, like that.
I'm with you on that.
Like AZAC, 1x6, exactly to the millimeter, then painted. I could hold two pieces in front of your
Yeah, I
face
know
and
the
put it on your nose, and you wouldn't be able to tell me which one is which.
What I actually worked out in construction.
Let's go. Tomorrow I'll meet you at the office. I have two pieces. You can't look at the end grain because that's not exposed. Face to face paint, you're looking at paint. You're looking at 5.5 inches by 3/4.
So it is a very important topic to discuss because, you know, I do think, like for equivalent, that's going to come up as it goes through the public hearing process. Because I think that's where the discussion is gonna have to happen. If it's things that we can come up with a list of things that make sense, this for this, can be, still go through administrative approval, but not have to go to the historic district review board. You're allowing a bit of flexibility. One, you're not charging the homeowner additional fees to go in
Right.
front of the historic district review board. You're giving the board the appropriate projects that they have to look at, not a project that's like, okay, I've gone from a wood deck to a composite easel. That still looks like wood.
Especially if it's already been done multiple times.
Yeah. and,
Exactly.
you
There's a
know,
precedent for it, and we will approve it at historic review. There's no reason to just keep going through
Right.
and paying $500 to make the same decision.
And wait 2 months.
Yeah. So that's where we were, even amongst the four of us, back and forth, back and forth.
All right, get consensus for that so we can move on?
Tracy,
Tracy,
has a
go ahead.
statement.
Like for like with examples, right?
Right, or like with examples.
And so one of the other topics that we looked at was section 8.26, which I listed there for your ease. We would, so material to be submitted for review, we would request that this paragraph be amended to describe when actual survey and/or site plans are required for minor and major applications. So this is a topic that we've heard through the year from either homeowners or contractors where the challenge of surveys might have been unnecessary for a survey where you could just pull distance lines off of existing features to give you the same information, but not have to spend the money to get a survey, to then wait 6 months to get a survey, because we generally only have one, that was adding a stress that might be unnecessary for certain minor projects and major projects.
Okay.
Don't eat no candy.
No candy.
No candy for you.
Is that his beeper going over?
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to open.
Yeah,
the
go ahead,
topic.
Sharon. Because I need to hear more on this one.
It's in our ordinance, but we look at each project when we need someone to have a survey, and there have been cases, as Councilman Newman knows, where you can draw on a survey that they already have. In the cases where we require surveys or additions, we have to know this has nothing to do with the Historic District Review Board, it's for zoning review. So that's why we require surveys for certain things. I mean, if it's a fence and they don't have a survey, we normally do want them to have one, or their neighbor give them theirs. We have had people to put other things on people's property thinking they owned it. I mean, so we're trying to not get that because we only have 2 people that are very.
So I can talk through an example of our church, Emmanuel, that's.
You were doing an addition.
Yeah, so let's just talk the steps there and then tell me what is acceptable. We did a survey, and then we came back and had an architect come in and draw an addition to the church for a bathroom, ADA ramp. And we then went back to make it a site plan, And we went back to the surveyor who then overlaid the architect's outline onto the survey. So we had a site plan, and that's what was submitted. Lo and behold, when we pulled permits, the vestry decides they want to extend it out for another 4 feet. All right, so we had to get the architect back involved, or a new architect actually, that dealt with ADA requirements, but a new one that laid out the whole building again and the ramp, which is already done, and we just paid $7,000 for that. But now we're looking to go back and find the surveyor to overlay this new one on, where I'm not sure really if that's acceptable or not, just having the architects.
Well, actually, I will say,
Go ahead.
with that survey, I had contacted the surveyor once for you guys because he sent us the wrong scale, so we couldn't do some of our measurements. But we really tried now and also Jeb needed some things for that also for your application. Our portion, which we're looking over now, once Jeff comes back and he tells us it's okay, you'll get approved for the modifications. But the reason why you needed that one survey is because you did an addition. Once you go doing other things, like an addition, you put more square footage on that addition.
Right.
Then yes, we did need a,
But that's where we're asking, it's not close to any property lines, it's a change of the length of the building. And now, the trouble I have is I have to go find that surveyor who is now working for the county. And find him working overtime to do whatever cleanup people are pestering and gonna have to pay for that. And I'm not sure of really what the benefit is ultimately when you have an architect's drawing that lays out the dimensions of this addition and where it gets stuck on for the church. So we thought, that's all I'm questioning is that adequate for your zoning
yes.
purposes? And do I need to really go back and find the surveyor in order to update his site plan?
You don't have, you can call another surveyor, that's up to the.
No, why would I need it though? That's the question, and that's what
More
prompts.
square footage, and we not only building lot coverage, we don't only do the addition of building lot coverage. We also have to follow the Chesapeake Bay Act.
Right.
So I have to make sure you're not going over.
But you have all that information
On the original.
Architect's drawing.
But he's not certifying the land ownership, he's not certifying the meets and bounds, the.
Okay, well,
But
that's
you
the
already
whole,
had that
that's the
with the
whole
first
purpose of
survey.
what we're proposing
And that has
here.
nothing to do with historic district, that is zoning requirements for any land development.
All right, so that's what we're asking for. What is the requirements for that? We'll eventually have to go get this surveyor if that's what you require and get another site plan. But personally, I see that as a waste of time and a waste of money, and I can't get a hold of them until later in November. And I don't know what serves purpose there when it comes to zoning. You
And I
can,
think it opens up the question also for what we have added to our table is some sort of provision, like people are gonna want outdoor kitchens, outdoor barbecues, outdoor saunas, like things that amenities in their yards. And we need to be clear what any survey or non-survey or dimension requirements are required for those kinds of efforts.
so if I have, let me take another example. If I have a survey from a house and I put an accessory unit there, accessory structure, and I plop it in and I hand draw it in and say it's gonna be 15 feet off the back and 10 feet off the side, and there's where it is on my property, why wouldn't that be adequate? That's my question, as opposed to now going find the surveyor that will have to take the dimensions of this and survey the house and plop it down.
Because people aren't always truthful most of the time.
Okay, well, you're causing time to get a surveyor, no less the cost.
Okay, so a survey is necessary for us to know exactly what you own, what are the actual true dimensional information of your meets and bounds, because you may tell me I own a 140 by 40, but until you actually go survey it, you may then find out, thought I had a 140 depth, but really I'm only 138.
Can I ask a
First thing.
question just in this, right at that point? So if someone has the survey 5 years ago, do you guys keep a record of that on that property somewhere?
It is
Or is
possible
it-
we still have something on file in the office. It's not
No,
always
I know,
guaranteed.
I know.
They don't always give it to us.
Right.
If people ask
But
us
if
to
the-
search our records, if we have it, we provide it to them. It may be old enough, 15, 20, 25 years ago, we're gonna say that survey needs to be updated at this point.
Is there a
Because we
year
don't
that
know
that
if
has
they've
to happen?
captured Any easements that have been recorded?
Sure.
Any land transfers that happened on that property since that survey was last done?
So if a
that's part of
homeowner,
having a survey.
a homeowner has a survey that's been done within 5 years,
Yeah,
they
they're
can
not-
start
they're
with
not
that and
looking-
use it?
Yeah,
They don't have to get a new one?
Depending on what they're doing on their project, if they're saying we want to take down the whole thing, or we want to add another 1,200 square feet of an addition, they may need to get a revised survey, an updated survey to reflect all of those changes. Because again, I'm still going to ask, okay, in the last 5 years, what easements may have happened on this property?
Sure.
What permissions did you give to VDOT or ANEC to run something on their property?
Gotcha.
It doesn't tell me that from 5 years ago if you just did it 2 years ago.
I appreciate you let me interrupt right there. I was just
No,
trying
no,
to,
and I'm not
yeah.
trying to be combative, I'm just trying
No,
to make
you're
sure
not.
everybody understands the process. It has nothing to do with historic district.
Yeah.
It is a zoning requirement, period, on any land development.
So related to that, since it's needed for planning and zoning, why does 8.26 say Historic District Review Board may request site plans and surveys?
Because we want to make people aware through the historic district, because not everybody's reading the other 8, 9 chapters of your zoning ordinance to realize that's a zoning requirement.
But
So
this
we
says,
reiterated in both spots.
this says HDRB can request. Whether you request it or not, they can request it.
They never have, because again, I'm doing the full zoning approval before
I
they
hear what
reaches
you're
that.
saying. This says they
So that should
can.
just be stricken.
I think so.
Then we can strike that, that's fine.
What are you striking out?
That HDRB doesn't have the right to say to you, you have to have a survey.
Okay.
They're not
The
doing it,
planning
I'm
and
doing
zoning.
it from zoning,
Right.
from a zoning
Anyway, yeah.
approval
Yeah.
perspective, before it ever gets to HDRB, you have to achieve zoning clearance.
If HDRB needed it, you would have had,
You would already have
had
it.
That's right.
So
So
it's
it's
not
just-
like they would,
But if she didn't need it, all of a sudden, they could say,
They would-
oh, now we need it. No,
Right.
we need to strike that.
Okay.
please.
So where would I find in language that says, if I take it out of here, where would I find language that says I need a site plan or
Appendix C,
appendix C?
deals all the site plans, yeah, site plans and surveys. I have
No,
it here,
that's a
already
bear,
got it.
that's a bear to go through. That's not tonight.
bring back the chart.
All right, so I'm still, may not agree with it, but I think we require too much relative to site plans for
Yeah.
zoning, not for historic, for zoning. It just, I can pencil in an accessory dwelling or the accessory structure and be done with it and feel that would be adequate.
And I'm not saying we haven't given such allowances on a case-by-case review of what your project is. We have done that on numerous occasions, Paul. And in fact, I've even given your particular example, you just referenced the church. I know you were still in preparation of getting me a site plan. I've already given you approval with certain
Yep,
assumptions
we
of knowing
appreciate
what's
that.
coming on that site plan to contain it so that your project can commence and move forward.
Given people.
I don't mean to be critical of you guys, but I think you guys got ahead of yourself of knowing what your project was. Then the rest of your church got involved and they changed your project on you. I don't think that's the fault of the staff nor our
I
board
tried
do
to,
that.
I tried to fire the vestry, but
So,
didn't succeed. Wow. All right, but in any case, we'll be back spending the money for a site plan as requested.
Gotta watch the Episcopalians.
Hey,
2 feet can turn into.
2.5.
all right, moving on.
So wait, we're taking out of section 8.26, just that the Historic District Review Board may require site plans, are we, I
That's
guess I
not
don't-
their job, so yes, that should just be taken out.
I just wanna make sure that we're all clear, we're just taking out the phrase site plans in this section.
Survey and site plan.
Okay,
Because it's already gonna be there.
And I think this one needs more discussion. It's not happening this evening. So, I don't want to sit here. for
The site
15
plans?
hours.
One, I think, you know, I'm sure Councilman Grossman will look at Appendix C and see if there's any way we can add clarity into what's in Appendix C, into notations, into Appendix G, to be clear on some of these actions that we know will require a survey or a site plan. Because the idea is to make Appendix G, from our perspective, was this is kind of like the
One-stop
homeowner's
shop.
guide, the property owner's guide. Like, you know, they can pull this up and like, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, and have a place to start. And so, and not to send them to, they got to go to Appendix C to look for this, and Appendix G to look for this, and then there's X, Y, 7 over here, like to make it a little clearer, which avoids some ambiguity for everybody.
So I think,
Because not everybody
I
wants
think,
to
Tara,
read.
what you're looking to strike out of 8.26 is not the Historic District Review Board, you're looking to strike out site plan.
Correct,
Yes,
sorry, that's.
You leave
that's-
everything else there, because
Right.
those are elements of like.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
board
Just
looking
that they don't
to-
have
Just
the
site
authority
plans.
to
That's correct.
Ask for site
to
plans.
ask for a
Yes,
site
that's
plan or a
really-
survey. Take those two words out, 3 words.
Okay.
I thought he said survey.
Just as-
I didn't read
Site
it.
plan.
Okay.
Do you see survey?
Okay.
I don't.
Oh, you said it, okay. All right, moving on to 8.29, is that next?
Yes, so, when you look through Appendix G, you'll see that there are a number of items that we included in there, like a swimming pool is not in any way contributing to a historic structure, but we didn't want to leave it out. So somebody still wants to know what has to happen, that they can look, swimming pool. Because it will still show in that code official column that they're gonna have to go through the code official for that kind of work. So we do have several instances where that is part of this table now. We also, as part of this, felt that the certificate of appropriateness, having it go from 6 months to a year is, with an ability to extend it one time, is more appropriate. Just because it's such a challenge to get contractors that you could try and do everything right, but in 6 months, they're still not available to do your work. So we thought a more reasonable time is change 6 months to 1 year, and they can have a one-time extension.
We do have some comments, both on the swimming pool. I guess I'm unclear, are you saying swimming pools do not have to be reviewed, period?
No, no, no.
No,
Then I'm not understanding.
Just that they're in this,
There are a couple items that we found in the table that we didn't feel was historic. And again, Appendix G was historic, but you added, and we liked the additional items. But under the columns, we would just have a statement that, hey, code official and/or zoning administrator review would be required.
So the language is so for swimming pools. It says, not historic, but requires zoning administrator approval and building code official review.
So we're not saying take it out of the table, just
It
add
just
that
doesn't show up as
clarification.
a routine, minor, or major. We blanked all that out and just wrote that statement. So there's emergency stabilization was another one, swimming pools is another.
There were just a few.
Yeah, like emergency installation for temporary features.
Yeah.
If there's any alteration, addition, renovation required for a medical issue, included that in there, and fuel tank addition and removal. So those are kind of items that are not considered historic. They don't necessarily fall in the routine, minor, or major from the Historic District Review Board perspective, but it's clear that you still have to go through zoning administration and the building code official for those features. And again, like wanting to make sure that this table was more complete, so those words weren't in some other table, and a homeowner could pull this up as their A to Z reference on all of the types of work that they may do
So
on their property.
I guess I'm gonna be contrarian just for a minute. So say one of the homes on Bay Avenue wanted to put in a swimming pool. You think no matter what, they're allowed to do that, has no consequence and consideration within a historic design perspective?
From a, yeah, good question, it's a good question, from an historic perspective. And I'd say no.
No. So they can put in whether you think it complements the architecture of that house on Bay Avenue or not.
It's not part of the house.
I'm
Yeah.
just making you,
Yeah.
because we do consider other features that happen on the property that may not be affiliated with the house per se.
No, it's too much control.
Unless they're putting a pool in the front yard.
Yeah, which they can't.
And a bunch of these, we bounced against the historic guidelines and didn't find reference at all, so that there was no guidance to the board.
It's the same thing when we had,
Relative.
when Virginia came in and we went over some of the stuff that got overturned and they didn't find any fault with what council had done. Because even they, brought up the fact that you can put a new addition that doesn't really have to contribute to the main thing. You're gonna match the siding steps and stuff, but it could be made out of
Different material, you couldn't mimic,
Yeah.
right, the
Right,
historic
you're not
nature.
supposed to mimic, new construction is not
Correct.
supposed to mimic.
on the backside, not,
Correct.
it's one of the things they went over, so, I mean, that's one thing. But a pool's only part of the structure of the
And
house.
technically,
I think that's-
even with the rules that are there now, it's in the backyard. So it technically doesn't go
Can't
to
be
the
seen.
historic review.
And it doesn't matter if it can be seen or not, in my opinion, that's
Exactly.
because
But
that penalizes the people in
the
corner.
issue is really, what does the design guidelines say that helps the board to decide on these things? And you won't find swimming pools, you won't
Right.
find propane tank. And again, there was only a couple items that we
It's a-
felt
yeah,
that we
like
called
you know,
out.
somebody needed.
You're correct. We don't currently, because we haven't had a lot of swimming pools in the historic district. It is becoming an increasingly common application in the historic district, believe it or not, especially on some of the lots that have not been developed to date.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to go through historic.
So what happens
It's not
just
historic.
if somebody decides to put a big circular yellow and blue water slide in their pool behind the house? Like, would that be an example of something that,
Okay with me?
Good luck getting insurance for it.
Well, check insurance, so.
so we don't care what it looks
Making sure I
like?
understand.
Yeah, but again, if it's in the backyard, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
Against the code.
so I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering, it's not like everybody has a bar in their backyard with a TV or something.
That'll be the end of this town. when that's happening.
So, when we did the last revision of the entire zoning ordinance revision, we specifically spent some time talking about having the COA expiration align with the same calendar when you get a building permit. We recognize not everything in the COA world would require a building permit, but we wanted to keep it on that same track as what a building permit application is for. So again, yes, we do have a 6-month expiration date currently on our COAs. As long as there is forward movement on the implementation of that permit, we will continue to let it live its life out to get to completion. So we've not been hard and fast and saying 6 months are out, you're only 80% done, too bad, you're out of luck. We haven't done that at all. We do alert people along the way saying, are you gonna get this done in the next 2 months, 3 months, what are you looking at? Let's go ahead and have you submit for the request for extension to be another year on your application because of your contractor difficulties, or you've lost your contract, or something happened. So we've worked with every single applicant on this issue. We've never yanked somebody because they weren't finished at 6 months, but as long as they were in motion, they had to have forward momentum on that application. But we have had other people who come and apply, they get approved, and they do nothing, absolutely nothing.
We've had a lot of them.
Well, I think
So
that's
when
what
you
this
say
is.
do
It's
nothing, you
starting.
mean like physical
This is-
evidence?
They
of-
started absolutely nothing.
But
Okay,
what if-
this is what that's talking about. This isn't finishing a project.
Yeah.
This is just to start the project, go from 6
Yeah.
months to 12 months.
We're talking even that, because again, if you're coming to see us by that point, we hope you already have a contractor in mind who's ready to do the work.
But a lot of times people don't.
Not for
Yeah,
some of those
Why would
things.
we not wanna, I don't understand any other reason why we wouldn't wanna extend it to 12 months, other than it just aligning with the other.
And we could do it with the building permits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
why
can't the
not?
building
Because
permit be
Building
there?
permits are 6 months.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
but-
take
Why
both
can't
as well.
they
Make them-
switch?
Yeah,
No, the building permits are dictated by building code.
Building.
okay,
Oh.
so.
It's not under your control to change that.
so-
We have power.
I don't have any problem with them not.
Got a little
Right.
humor.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what it is, building code, then maybe we stay with building code.
Well, that was the discussion. I mean, Katie, thank you for the reminder.
Because
I
I feel like
remembered
this-
that.
How many projects haven't started in 6 months?
Yeah, I was gonna
That we
say,
have to
has
go to
there
small
been a
ones? I mean, has this
problem?
been a, I mean, has anybody even heard of it?
It's a good number.
Is it a problematic?
I would say for some of the
Yeah.
things that you could get a COA for that are more straightforward things, I wouldn't hire a contractor, for example, to build my bar, which I got a certificate of appropriateness for. I wouldn't go out and hire the guy first. I would
Right.
say, hey, can I even do this? Is this okay? Does this meet
Right.
your requirements? And then I get the approval, then I start to go out and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Can I get some bids? And it would easily, if I was the one building it, I could say, I can do it, but it's not gonna be till next summer.
Right.
Right, so it would make sense
Exactly.
then to extend the COA for 12 months, right?
Well, that we can't.
But is
Yeah,
that,
the
is
COA, we
that
can
progress?
extend. We
Is
can
that
extend the
progress?
COA,
Is that
right?
like, hey, I hired a
No,
guy,
that's building
here's my
things.
contract,
There are
but
things,
I don't,
but
I'm not
not
started
for-
yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
not the building part.
Not the building.
Tracy,
Just to let you all know, since 2023, we've only had 8 people come to us for extensions, and to get back to it, over the last 6 months, I've had contractors come to every single meeting because they're starting contracts. And the ones that came to us out of the 8, 2 of them, it was, their contractors got into some personal issues, trouble, so, and we didn't even charge them because obviously that was not their
Okay.
fault. So, I think the 6 months is good because it lets people know that they want to do the work, because at 12 months, we had a lot of repeats. I was having to do a staff report all over again. Right after the 12 months, they would come, we gave them a little over 12 months then, and they would still come to us, and I'm like, you gotta go back to the board. That was way more work for us. With this 6 months, it really has given people the initiative to go ahead and get the work done, but like I said, over the past 6 months, the contractors have been coming, and this is for new homes too. I mean, most of the new homes that are under the new guidelines have been built, but that's since 2023.
Well, building a home, absolutely. But I'm talking about smaller stuff.
Well, we've had additions, and people have come to us, and they're done, but like I say, their contractor comes, but also, you're also supposed to have that number with the fee schedule that it is now, that I do believe you all.
Based upon construction
Is based
value.
upon construction value.
So Claudette, what are you hearing now, from the community, is that
It's just been harder and harder to actually get contractors, like, people that are moving here don't have the connections.
Right.
To try and get your, you know who to call to get your project moved up on the list. They don't necessarily know.
I would know who
And so
not to call.
It was a
Unless you wanna spend
a
it.
challenge that they felt that it was like another thing that they had to kind of worry about as they're trying to get a contractor. They're ticking the days off the calendar. Do I have to go back to get an extension? And, is there a fee? Is there not a fee? And so this was a way to just maybe provide some clarity for that.
Is
Again,
there,
I mean-
is there a fee for an extension?
Yes.
Maybe that's what we look at.
But,
That if, maybe as a compromise, we look at,
We've had 8 since 2020.
So the question,
well,
you get approval to build whatever you're gonna build, obviously not a house, just something. Do you have to get the permit right then, after your approval?
Well, I want to get the permit. We issue a certificate of appropriateness
Right then.
to you.
And that
Yes,
starts
we
the
have a
clock.
certain-
That's what I wanted to,
We
okay.
have less than 5 days, I think it's 3 days,
Yeah.
to get the certificate of appropriateness issued out, because that's in your ordinance. So we have to turn it around as soon as we've had action.
And that's when the clock starts.
Yes.
Okay, that's what
And we
I,
say that, and that's all in your certificate that
Yeah.
gets issued to you, saying, today, this is the date it got signed, and you have 6 months, and we also, make you aware, do you need to get a building permit? We tell you to go see the building official, et cetera. Again, 'cause our goal is hopefully you're applying for your building permit immediately, because you come to us, we're thinking you are ready to go. We're trying to
Well-
ensure that you are ready to go. And so part of that's the conversation we're having when we talk with each applicant. Do you have a contractor? Okay, that you don't. Then maybe once you go shop around, we can read through your project, look at your scope, and give you that advice. This is gonna take this long. It can be administratively approved if this is the scope of your project. So it won't take you long to get a permit through us. It may take you a week at tops. Or it is gonna require going to the board, so when you're ready with a contractor, this is how long it's gonna take to get through. And it's about a month's lapse from when you can apply to when you get before the board, 1 month.
In the perfect
Yeah.
scenario. Usually most people get extended out. There's something that they need to bring back, so they go to the second meeting.
I just am not understanding why we wouldn't extend it to 12 months. I'm just having a hard time.
Or remove the fee.
Remove the fee to extend.
Yes,
To me, that's a
because that's the same thing.
easy solution.
And it keeps them tracking, you know.
The way they want to track
So if
it.
you
Yeah.
remove the fee, then they don't have the pressure, like, oh, gosh.
I like that.
I'm good with that.
That's a good compromise.
So we keep it at a 6-month, but we remove the fee for an extension.
Right.
And it sounds like it's not going to cost us much money because you haven't really seen that many instances of people having an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And again, we're not advocating what your fees are, that's up to you guys. That's wholly your issue.
Issue.
There's only been 8.
It's our issues.
And out of those 8,
We
2
got
probably
issues.
weren't charged because they were those
Hold on.
instances.
Yeah, I think Ed's making a very good point.
Hold, stop.
I think this was included because of supply chain issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the aftermath, and you figured you needed more time because the material's not getting.
Yep.
Yes.
So now it's, it's like another one.
So you think that the 6-month with no fee for extension is an appropriate solution? Okay.
I mean, if it meets the goal of
Yeah.
staff knows that, or the homeowner knows also that there's an onus to get it started, like not to wait,
Yes.
but then don't penalize them
Right.
for an extension if it's something out of their control.
Right.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah, the contractor's
it
outside.
feels like that nickel and dime
Correct.
kind of
Right.
thing.
You might not be doing it, guys, I understand, you might not be doing it, but they don't know that when they're going in for the
Right.
application, especially if they're not, or they're new to the area kind of thing, or this is their first rodeo. They might not know that you're actually very mindful of what's out of their control and not charging them anyway. So if we codify it, I think that's helpful to everyone, correct?
Yeah, I think it takes that feeling of being nickel and dime for like all these things that are outside their control.
All right, moving on.
I'd suggest we maybe make the fee structure a separate, because we're gonna
Yes,
go
so,
really
yeah,
late.
we actually didn't, other than a couple things that we kind of have suggestions for.
Yeah, we don't need to decide. We just wanted to throw out ideas for thought here.
Yeah, like once the idea is like, once appendix G and the ordinance language gets kind of to a better next phase, then looking at the applications and the fee and fine structure would be a separate conversation.
Which looks like it's going into the conversation right now.
We're just giving examples.
So we just skip that page.
Okay. we'll just
Yeah,
skip
so
it.
you can see on the next slide, fee structure and application forms, kind of the secondary phase of it. And so you can see that we were thinking this process through, but understanding that appendix G alone is a lot of information. And so to try and combine the fee structures all at one time and the applications all at one time, you'd end up redoing a lot of work. And so, like we've already talked about, no fee would be associated with routine maintenance, which I think everybody was in agreement for. We would say the balance of the fee and the fine structure would require additional review. For this kind of next one, it's kind of like a primer for you to think about fee structure. New residential construction fee of $500 appears appropriate, but there's also a $500 fee that's applied to substantial alterations greater than $5,000. And so even a small, minor type of work project, $5,000 could go through quickly. And so we were thinking maybe there's a better way to address that with some sort of sliding scale on some of these things with a cap. And so when we get to the conversation of fee structure, maybe keep that in mind or let
I
it
don't know
work
that I'd
around.
want to do a sliding scale, but I would just raise that 5,000 to a much larger number.
Yeah, it's again, as we were trying to think through things, we wanted to give you things to think
Yeah,
about
it's not even.
for this next phase.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine, let's go.
So we just talked about the certificate of appropriateness, so the original fee is $75 for that, and then the fee for the extension.
We'll talk fees another time.
Okay.
Yep.
One thing that actually does contribute to the Historic District Review Board conversations is there should be kind of the incentive we actually have people in town that are trying to restore their homes back to a more historic look and feel. And that should, essentially, if it needed to go through the Historic District Review Board for their awareness, it should be like a great job and not a $500 fee, because they're gonna put it back to something more historic and not have that be a hindrance every time they may wanna do that. Whether that's, putting, vinyl back to wood. So again, we sat around this table thinking about all kinds of possibilities that people would want to do. And so maybe that's a consideration moving forward. And then, application forms, again, will be a different conversation once we get through Appendix G. So just 3 topics that we have talked about, that, just to wrap it up, as being aware of what may come up as part of the public hearing. So some of these topics essentially are like corner properties, of which all 4 of us actually live on corners, where the public right-of-way comes into a determination simply for that fact. It could be the same work would get moved from a minor project to a major project. So that could be something that's going to have more discussion from the council, or we'll be prepared that it comes up as a topic for the public hearing, because people could have bought their properties prior to these things coming in on a corner, and now they're required to do more than their neighbor next door for the same project.
Well, I'm on 2 major streets, so I'm every street.
You're totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, both sides. You gotta coming and going.
And again, we talked about the type of materials like for like versus equivalent. So as we maybe flesh out some examples, or there's an administrative review process for some things that are very common, rather than it going through the Historic District Review Board, is a topic. Third is how we develop this provision for outdoor kitchens, outdoor fire plates, or fire pits, built-in barbecues, saunas, hot tubs, all of these things that are going in a beach town that people would like to have.
Stainless steel pole.
So we didn't necessarily come up with a solution for those topics. And we did, on that same graphic, I did just show, so that page is from the design guidelines, where it does talk about alternative materials in terms of like whether you're looking at location, durability, sustainability. So that might come into question for the like for like and the like versus equivalent conversation. So that gives you the overview of all of these topics that, they sound simple at first hand, but when you start to dive into them, you can see from this conversation that they're not as simple as it sounds. And so, important to know how that translated into this table. And so now it's kind of up to you. I get the feeling people don't want to go through this line by line.
Yes, I don't know.
See,
I
okay,
do.
This line by line.
Yeah.
I'm just exactly why we're
I
doing
thought
it.
this is what we were focusing on tonight.
Yes, yes.
You have to understand all of the other parts before you get to it.
We gotta go through this.
Well, this is really our one shot to actually, among ourselves, talk about these things. That's the purpose of work sessions, so that's what we gotta do.
So like Clayton noted, number 1, we put painting in yellow with a very clear statement that non-masonry structures require approval. Painting is also so this is not in alphabetical order, just the way that I didn't go that far as we were making our discussion. That's a formatting issue that can get worked out.
No, the painting is meant to be the first line. We put that in from the planning commission meetings.
Yeah, and so we
It's
added
gonna
it.
stay as the first line. Yes.
Exactly what I said. We
Yeah.
also included it in the Ps, so the homeowner could go painting and find it at P.
I'm done, yeah.
Or if they were painting, they could just do it from the first lines.
I thought there were copies. There are copies, I can give you yours back. I feel so much better now. I thought I had seen them back there, but I wasn't sure.
I would recommend
Thank you, honey.
that the topic line,
Thank you.
accessory structures, or whatever it is, be a line by, not a run-on that goes this, put it separate, and then the descriptor part below it. I don't know if that's making any sense, because when I first, for example, line 6, accessory structures or buildings, comma, new construction, start new construction below that.
Oh, yeah.
So you see, this is the topic, this is the descriptor,
I wonder if, also if that's in bold.
or
Like-
something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
You
some
know,
way
but
so that
same,
you know.
both, I think both things are
Yeah.
good, yeah. But it makes you know what the heading is.
Right. This is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So you'll see, where that code review column got added to the right. And you'll see, the way things go, because it is two different things. If you want to capture minor versus major work, for accessory structures on those lines 2 and 3, you have to denote it of what you can see from the public right of way versus what you cannot see from the public right of way. And so we broke that accessory structure. You can see like 4 and 5 is crossed out, and so we kind of like alterations, additions, renovations go into one category. New construction is obviously a different category.
If we could look at 9, accessory structures or buildings, replacement of existing, and that's down as a minor. It would seem if we're replacing an accessory structure, that would be major.
Depends on what size it is.
Well, but that would,
Like a shed,
to me, require more review. I don't know, I was
Well,
just concerned.
okay, remember though, minor, it starts out at a minor, but it's up to really the town staff that will determine whether it stays minor or goes to major too,
Okay,
right? The language is there, that it can start as minor, but there's always the ability based on what you're building or changing or what have you.
So whenever you see the zoning inspection required,
Right.
they're gonna say, hey, that's,
Yeah.
in this case, yeah, that's minor, and no, actually, you're gonna need to go up to 10 or whatever.
so maybe we put an X in both of those, that it could start, it could be either one of these things.
But we know at
No.
least
Oh, I
has to
see.
start as a minor. And it could grow to a major, but
Even a minor requires a
Well, that's why we
review.
have 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So, like, 8 is like repairs to the existing, so, and again, it doesn't show quite in the format, like, you have repairs to an existing, you have minor alterations to an existing, you have new construction, or major repairs. And so you'd have 3 lines for every type of work that you'd have to make it clear of what was routine, what was minor, what was major. Or if it's the same thing, but it's on a corner versus not a corner. Like,
Well, let's go to that for a little bit, because I want to go back to the public right away. So, you have 3 houses sitting. House A has a house built in front of it. House B doesn't, it's just a lot. House C has a house in front of it. House B gets 100% penalized, because now they're still in the site. I don't agree with that. I mean,
again, this is
A
a
and
topic we
C
were
don't have
very
to do a
split
darn
on.
thing, which they can still see technically through the open lot as you're walking by.
well, we didn't all agree, and you
Yeah.
could
And we all live on corners.
you can
That's
put
the
hedges
part.
up, tall, whatever, to mask the actual looking through, but then all of a sudden it's coming down. Well, that gives the person to play in his backyard, and the next owner comes in for that house and cuts down the hedges, and then all that's visible. So we had this going around and around, corner lots get screwed, but,
We do. The ones with lots in front of them.
okay,
Yeah.
it is.
Also-
That's what
I mean,
it
Glass
is.
I did
house.
the same thing on mine. The one on Pine, we put in shrubs down, they're all at least 8 foot tall, and they're gonna get to 16 foot tall. But the same thing, that's what you're saying, I leave, someone comes in and mows them all down, and now it's open to pine again.
Yeah, so your application for what you do in that backyard is gonna tie in your hedges or whatever, and it kinda locks you in to having to maintain that.
Yeah. I mean, my example's more on, if the house was there, these people wouldn't have to do anything. They're technically not in the line of sight. Just because someone has it built is not their fault. That's my opinion. They're getting penalized for it.
Yeah, and with all the ordinance views I've looked on historic, I don't think you're gonna find anybody that has tackled the corner lot issue.
Yeah, I mean, we can tackle them both. I'll put corner lots in with someone that should have a house in front of them. I mean, I'll put my house in there. I should have a way to have a backyard.
Pick your backyard, depending on what day it is.
Yeah. So anyway, we don't have to talk about it tonight. We can move on. We're going to 10.
Again, that's why we've raised that as a thing that might require additional consideration, because when the public sees it, it's going, we have a lot of corners, a lot of houses on corners, and you can kind of, when you go through this table, see very clearly that all of a sudden you've gone from something minor to something major, and with that comes another fee. So,
And the meeting with historic review, a whole nother month
yeah.
that you wouldn't have to do.
Yeah, and so, you know, and it is people that, you know, I bought my house well before
I
this
gotta
came
object
up,
to the
so.
way you keep saying that. In a whole other month, you gotta go to the Historic District Review Board. What's the point of the Historic District Review Board except to maintain the integrity of your district?
That's
That
not,
sounds disparaging the way you're saying.
no,
it,
it's not the
Dan.
point,
Sorry.
it's not the point that I'm making. I'm saying that still, House A and C do not have to wait any time. Their projects are done. House B
Well, if you
has a
want
whole,
clarity, then we can send everybody to the Historic District, no admin.
that's not what I'm saying at all.
That would help my life.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And,
We put them out a month.
hey,
because
that's
of
not
the
the
staff.
I think there's a difference between a corner lot that will always
Right.
be line of sight versus your situation. that
I'm not
is-
even talking about my
Okay,
situation.
or the situation with a house in front of or not, that at some point in the future won't be. Do you see what I'm saying? It won't be in line of sight.
I do.
Yeah, and so maybe we can make that clarification at some point, maybe
I
not
am
tonight,
just
but.
I am gonna make you aware, Tara, and all of you know this, there are many vacant lots in town and very desirable real estate locations in town that have been vacant since the inception of this town.
Absolutely.
Bay Avenue is a great example of that.
Sure it is.
So,
And it's because the ones
and the
that own
homes
it,
on Harbor Avenue are having to pay the price, as you may call it, of having to go through that review because they have, their backyards are viewable from a public right-of-way of Bay Avenue because none of those lots, some of those lots have never been developed.
right.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
That's
That's
one
it.
example.
That's a good example.
My first name,
Forget his
believe me, I
particular
hear it.
home.
I couldn't visualize what you were
But
meant.
Bay
Yeah, I
Avenue
got
is a
it.
great one. We have several lots that have never been developed and the homes
Right.
on Harbor have come forward. They've done a lot of work in their backyards.
Yeah.
Adding some features that require going to the Historic District Review Board because they were visible from a public way,
Right.
which was Bay Avenue.
It's kind of like me and that public right-of-way being the park.
Yeah, that's right.
You can see it. Fishbowl, fishbowl, fishbowl.
All right, well, if we're going line by line, let's move on, please.
I gotcha.
Who wants the next?
Yeah, if there's questions, just, let's go down, I don't need to hit each one.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, pick them out. Well, I'll just go down. Anybody on top?
Or page, go away page,
All right.
page 6.
Yeah, Ken, we did have a comment that we would probably like the definition of architectural details more clearly defined. That we didn't have a source for that.
I think it's hard to define what they are because it's gonna be based upon the style of home. And again, we have a whole chapter 3 of building descriptions. And within that, of architectural character, they then tell you what are the features depending upon the type of style of home you have. So I don't know how I can get more descriptive than just tell you to refer to chapter 3.
And that might be the,
Yes.
how we do it,
Yeah.
but just a way to best, based on experience of town staff, on how you would refer someone to what those details mean.
All right, moving on, page, oh,
We don't seem to, and this is just a generic, we don't seem to distinguish between contributing and non-contributing in the level of oversight that's happening. And I was just curious as to, did you all discuss that?
No, we just got it into the application file, and that's part of the staff review.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
non-contributing
do,
things were like the swimming pools, and fuel tanks, like those are definitely non-contributing, not the non-contributing feature of a house.
Well, a non-contributing
Okay,
shed
accessory
versus,
structure
right,
can
yeah.
be
Well, we have
contributing or
that
not
listed
contributing.
somewhere else.
But you'd end up applying, and then they would
would still-
add that
okay.
designator to it
Yep.
and decide, board, not board, can I do it, do they need to do it? But it just gets you into the process.
Page 7. I see you
Let's
have the
deal
one
with that.
thing for font, custom color, whatever, what does it say? All right, moving on.
That's fine, that's just.
Yeah, I see what it says. Number 8.
I guess on
I've got a
29, that was your
question.
same
Sorry.
thing?
Sorry, I gotta go
It's all
back to
right.
page 6.
Oh my gosh, we're going back to 6?
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
You guys are proposing to strike out shutters
We added shutters, I think,
as its own category?
at the S.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, let me just confirm.
I believe so.
We did, I think, yeah.
This is where we need control.
Yeah.
And again, the table might not be in alphabetical order as you start getting the things that we added,
Right.
but I believe we did do shutters as its own category.
Okay, yeah, so I see line 86.
You
Okay,
found
Oh, wow, okay.
thank you.
No, we did it.
Yeah, I think when you.
Yeah, I don't think we took anything off the table. We made
Yeah,
it-
Yeah,
we
moved
didn't
it
take
or
anything out, we
separated
might
it.
have made it its own category for clarity, but nothing was deleted.
All right, so back to 8. You have something?
No,
All right,
had to change page.
moving to 9. A lot of strikes here.
And you can see like, I'll say line 25, that was just, everything's on line 25, but that would be broken into 3 different categories. For exterior doors, line number 25, you would see, different style, what would be routine, what would be minor, what would be major. So when
And
the
if we-
table was reformatted,
And if we always put them in the sequence of,
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's all formatting that
Yep.
Yeah.
we did not dive into.
on page 9, I had a question on 58.
Okay.
I got confused a little bit there, so maybe you can explain if we want to put in,
Yeah, this is a good
Hedges.
discussion. This is what I was referring to as screening, it's landscape we're talking about.
Right.
Go ahead.
This is because we had two folks, one actually got approval, so we've had 3 of these come forward. The Historic District Review Board, and we do, always try to come to a compromise to get approvals. So we had one after the fact that put outdoor shower on the side deck. So instead of getting him to take it off, because of course it's in the middle of rental season, we decided, he said that he was agreeable to screening. And then we had another one where the way their house was built and where their HVAC unit was gonna be, it was going to be seen from the street. So they said that they would like to screen it. So that's why. So in case we try to, because each application is its own, we can't take house A and B and say it has to be exactly the same.
sure, no, I understand that. My perception on this is, if I'm the homeowner and I go to this, if I want to put a porch on, I have to do these things. If I want to put in screening, I have to do a minor,
Application.
yeah, thank you. So
I see what you mean.
You see what I'm saying? It looks like I have to now go to you and say, can I
For
put up these
landscaping
hedges?
kind of things.
And I have to get, that's minor approval.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what you mean.
No, if they do general landscaping, that does not require any sort of permit for us. But if they're specifically putting in landscaping to serve as screening to shield a structure that otherwise would not be allowed to occur without going through a major
Right,
process.
right, but that would be under the structure that has to, I don't think screening is the entry point. I think the structure is the entry
Let's
point.
need more clarification, we didn't know.
And part of it is, while we put hedges and plants, we wanted people to be aware that qualifies as screening. Screening could also be a wall. Screening could also be some other architectural feature to screen things out from view.
Well, it's what I just
But
got,
are,
right?
Yeah.
For my HVAC units.
yeah.
Right.
But are those
So, but we
considered
ended up
accessory
throwing in
structures?
hedges and plants so that people
HVAC?
understood You don't just have to have a hard feature.
So, just, and that's exactly how Bay Creek does it through their POA during their process. You either have to do it via vegetation or some sort of structure that
Right.
blends in with the house. So they do the same thing, so.
So we just
it's a
put it
town-wide
in
thing.
here because it has come up
A lot.
more than we thought.
So-
So we finally felt we better put some wording in here to make people aware of how your screening could be addressed if you're trying to shield it from public view.
So
And
I
that's
was
the-
confused by accessory structure, because the things you labeled, I don't think of as accessory structures. So
Well-
maybe that's the wording that needs to change a little? Because what you said are,
Typically, what we've seen is when people are putting in the accessory structure, that's where they're adding the showers. That's where they're adding some of these other features that do require, that may be where they're tucking in the HVAC system for it. That's what we're trying to
I
do.
understand that, but see that wording,
Yeah.
public viewpoint of an
Right.
accessory structure? If HVAC's not an accessory
Well,
structure,
we don't, that's not something, what I was saying was, he came to us and we didn't say anything about his HVAC. He
Right.
wanted it screened.
Yeah.
What we were talking about is like outdoor showers.
The outdoor showers have been a big one.
Yeah,
and that's an accessory structure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
now his was toast.
So Ken, were you looking for clarification that landscaping, there needs to be a comment that says people can landscape their yard how they want?
I worry that this is saying something like, if I want to put in a hedge, I gotta get a, I have to, yeah, I gotta go and get a
It
permit.
does look
Those
like
are the
that.
first two words, so you're like, oh, I gotta
Yeah,
get
that's why, I mean, we were asking for clarification also, so that's.
But it's not, but it doesn't say it. It says screening that is utilized
it.
to
Oh, that is
mitigate.
usually, okay.
Yeah, there's a connection, you gotta read all the words
Yeah.
together. Yes, we tried to define what screening was. If you want, we can put that at the end of that sentence, so it reads at the bottom, saying screening can mean hedges, plants, or
Yeah.
other visual buffer like a wall or.
Yes,
There
Yes.
you go.
yes.
Well, I guess, I
Perfect.
think in our discussion, it came up as, so my backyard on the corner, but the way my backyard is, my neighbors, from their front porch, look into my backyard. So could I, without approval, put plantings up
Yes.
as
Yes.
screening? Well, this is why we were coming up with all of these scenarios.
But if it's in
Did I have
fact,
to ask for permission, or I could just put the plantings up, or is that considered?
My
I'm
understanding is the
trying-
plantings
I'm
are
trying to,
only
like,
for the
screen my-
accessory
okay.
structure
So
to
again,
screen
maybe
that.
further clarifications to mitigate the viewpoint
That's what's not
from a
clear.
public right of way, because that's where all this is coming from, because it's been seen from a public road.
Right.
And that's what it's caused us on multiple occasions over the last year and a half.
Yeah, we just maybe tweak the wording
Yes.
a bit in there.
Yep.
Correct.
All right, number
Now,
10.
just realize though, if I get a COA, this is what I was saying, if I get a COA that has hedges in there, those hedges stay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, anything that you've got that's tied to a COA, you're gonna have to maintain.
but if you sell the house,
Screening.
That's what I'm
if
just
they
saying.
sell the house, they
Just a
can still cut
caution.
them down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Saying
you
that
never- they would
the
never know.
plants are
No.
there, they've got to stay there if another owner comes in.
Oh,
Yeah,
that,
yeah, but that new owner
if
would
they
never
sell
know.
the house, the point is, if they sell the house, they can come in and cut them down, because there's no mandate to do, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you attach?
Well, that's unfortunate, because
It's a
then you
condition
run
of
into
the
your,
C of A.
correct.
Now they can put up other screening.
Yeah,
They can come in and put an application.
But nobody's
in
gonna
for
do
something
that.
different, but-
Right.
Sells the
Nobody would
house.
even think
No.
that you have to get permission to.
Yeah.
Why is it a separate thing, though? I mean, I would think that at the point where you're,
It's not a separate application, we're just calling it out so that people are aware
Okay.
of this, because it's come up frequently enough. And it's hard for me to say, okay, an outdoor shower, then make sure you're checking in to do these other things with it.
Gotcha.
So that's why we're listing it
Okay.
separately. We thought we had enough language or verbiage to tie it back to that accessory structure. Sounds like we need to clean that up a bit.
Yeah.
That's all.
Page 10.
I might need your help on clearing up that language,
Yeah.
and what you guys are intending. Okay. Please.
All right, 10, we pretty much covered
Yeah.
pool structures, energy
Exactly.
stabilization, all that. Anybody on 10? Move to 11 for the last, oh, no, sorry, not the last one.
Exactly. Convey,
That's just one there.
I just convey.
10, page 12, 78 through 90.
We did need number 68. where it says exterior surfaces, so surfaces,
Oh, yeah.
exterior is not specifically listed.
Where is it?
68.
Oh, yeah, we put
10.
that in there for everything,
Oh.
because we'll have people to come to us and say, it's not listed on here, I'm like, well, it's listed, that's where we qualify for this, because I could never get every single item that people come in and ask me about. I tried to, with this chart, when I was doing it, I tried to do all the major ones that came in, I could never
What
list
falls under
every
this, Tracy?
single one. So we just wanted to have like
Catch all.
like in all other duties as assigned, when you're assigned.
All
There
other
you go.
surfaces as
See
listed.
that?
But do you have
ASAOA.
examples? Is it better, is it worthwhile to put examples there? No.
Well, I would know how to come up with an example because
I mean, could it be a driveway? Is it siding?
driveways
Is it,
are already listed.
right?
It's anything not listed.
Okay.
So somebody else happens to come up with some new type of
Yeah.
surface that we never once thought of writing
I
in
got
this
you.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
We at least have a catch-all going, well, I may not have written solar panels,
Here.
but you just now
I
created
got you.
this whole
Okay.
new thing.
Stained glass windows or something, you know.
You fall into this general category we have,
Yep.
the catch-all bucket.
Well, maybe that's what we just add, anything not listed separately. We'll add that phrase to.
It does not specifically listed.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, that's good. All right, thank you. Now,
No,
Aren't
Paul-
you all
Paul's
smart?
phrase better.
You're gonna have to put that existing.
Paul says
at the
that's a
end.
great idea, then
All
golly
right,
days.
back to 12.
You can keep.
And so you can see on that page where
Selective
you
hearing,
got
selective reading.
structures, emergency stabilization, swimming pools, temporary features, emergency installation, stabilization, protection of property, that do not alter the resources. So that comment that says not historic, but requires zoning administrator approval and building code official review.
Correct.
So it sends people in a direction, it's not routine, it's not minor, it's not major, but there's still there's another process that is handling those features.
Number 12, page 12. 78 through 90. There's your shutters.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a comment of, for walkways, addition slash alteration slash new construction slash removal, that it was, as a category, it was really broad. And so how it gets broken down, like it could be repair, replacement, that still falls in line with routine, would have that definition, walkways, new construction would have a separate
Right, kind of like the handrails, like broken down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kind of like you did.
we were probably getting a little tired by the time.
yeah.
Accessory structures, you did it.
Tired of
Yeah,
that.
Right.
so when this gets formatted, it would break it down
We started
into
strong.
the categories.
We failed.
That was the letter A.
After the
But-
fourth meeting, we
And
just-
walkways and handrails are both biggies that people need to know. Those are big changes always.
Like handrails was a big one. I think
Real
we
big.
had
Yeah,
exhaustive
Yes.
conversation on handrails, because it
Yeah.
was like, well, is it's a front handrail
Yeah.
versus a side handrail. We live in a aging community.
Right.
So you kind of think like handrails, yes, has to be one of these materials, but as long as it meets the building code, then yes, we
Yeah.
can do that.
right.
What do we do now when like somebody has a historic porch railing that's 30 inches or less high and it's all rotten and they want to take it out? Do they have to replace it
Take
to
it out,
code,
it's
or
gonna
do
code.
they
You
have
Gotta go
to?
back to code.
It goes to code.
Has to go to code.
Building code will triumph anything we have in
Yep.
historic district.
Okay.
Yeah, if it comes down, if it's repaired, like you've taken out a couple spindles, that's one thing, but if you take it down, then it goes to building code.
Yeah, my front porch is all original stuff. Well, when it comes down, it'll.
And can I ask one, because while I have these great minds in the room, where does the non-painting of brick, is that, where does that come from, kind of just in, I mean, I know it's in our ordinance, but,
It's been here since the district was created. It's been since the-
It just wasn't watched for a while when nobody was
That's
watching the
coming
store.
from The national,
Yeah,
the historic preservation.
the HDR,
It is
yeah.
Will recommend just
it's
that.
such a there's so much painted brick in historical places, though. It's interesting to me
And
that,
the language is, if you've already painted it,
You can
have
add
at it.
to
Right.
If you haven't, do not.
That's correct.
I mean, I know what the language says, I'm just trying to get to
We've had
the,
somebody remove, right? We've had somebody
actually
remove.
had,
right, there were certain types of brick, obviously, that
You
don't,
encapsulate the
Right.
brick, it's not gonna breathe properly.
certain types though.
Right.
But like, we have a lot of ugly brick that could use a coat of paint in this town.
So, Clayton, we actually had an applicant come forward this summer to petition to paint brick. They were allowed to present to the historic board, provide their alternative material, et cetera, make the pitch. I don't think they made a strong enough presentation to convince the historic board that what they were doing wouldn't damage the overall structure of it. So it got denied, but there is the ability to petition
Okay, interesting,
for
all right.
some consideration that if they can justify it's an alternative material that will not hurt the brick structure itself.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there and I'm just curious, are there guidelines of what information they need to provide, or is that like a, let's see what they bring and.
They've got to follow what's in article, I think it's Article 7 of the alternative materials presentation.
Okay.
They have to walk through, yes.
And that's the HDRB or?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the board.
The hardest part is that people go around taking pictures of all the places that have been painted.
Yeah, right.
And that was not, you know,
But
that's so,
Well, you can do a lot of things, right?
exactly. But that's what I'm saying, I'm not saying it's correct, but that's where they get confused, because they see it, and they're like, but wait, and I was like, well, nobody was watching the store then. Yeah, yeah.
Katie, do you want our subcommittee to make a clean copy of this Appendix G?
Well,
We still have more work than based on what we just talked about, but do you want a clean copy? The line through gets crazy, but
at this point, is the council okay with most of what you guys have put forward to me? It sounds like yes. So yes, I need to get to what is soon to be your document.
okay, that's what I was just saying. You want a clean copy back. We'll still have holes. We'll still have to talk to you on certain things, but
Yep.
at least we know we can get away from the line throughs.
Yes.
Yeah, and then when it's all in order, that's a copy that the building code official can kind of look at also and put their thoughts in.
Yeah, I'll just say,
Because
Katie,
how
do you
some of-
feel
how some
like,
of these things interact, we want to have clarity.
Call it revised draft with a new date,
okay.
today's date.
Do you feel if it's beneficial for that additional column, Katie, Tracy,
No.
with code official?
I even asked Jeff about it when he first sent it to me, and he said no, because he has to take every application
I have,
as is, but I don't know, he may be able to do some stuff, but he says it's just a lot, because like we said, he doesn't know. His is different because he's gotta check if you're changing certain things, if it's a roof, if you're going through the.
is it commercial, because that has a different code under the classification of the building code versus residential? So there are nuances to his building code that aren't necessarily reflected in our document. That's all, it's,
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
so
I
I guess the
think
way
we can leave the column in for now, let him review the clean copy that has the column, and it's super easy to take that column out if he decides.
and I'm absolutely
there's no
fine with
place
that,
in
letting
here that's
Jeff step forward and state his own thoughts on that column and what he would like there. Worst case, again, it doesn't mean we can't add again, right at the top, just like we have the paint in the yellow, we can put it as a, I don't know, a box or something that says, any of this work may require you obtaining a building permit. Please check with the building department separate from any approval issued from.
I think it came from an initial observation of the use of the word inspection,
Yes.
instead
So
of
we
maybe
add
zoning
inspection,
review
yeah.
and then, because people think, lay people in construction think an inspection is a building inspection, not a zoning inspection. So that's all I think we were
Yeah, so
trying to
we
get
added
at,
zoning
is just to
inspection
clarify
on the
people's
one column.
confusion, so they don't think, oh, I have to get an inspection to replace my front
All we're trying to do is,
door.
everything that we issue is a permit, it's a
Yeah.
zoning permit that
Right.
gets issued, it's called a certificate of appropriateness. And I think what is, I won't say been lost, but just not fully understood, we do go out and inspect compliance with what we issue. Did the work actually happen?
Right,
And did it happen the way you said it was going to happen?
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing as a building official, and when they do their building permit review, they do inspections. We wanted that noted, because I think it got lost to people when we would show up, for, what are you guys doing here?
yeah, I get
Checking
it.
to make sure you did the work,
Right.
as you told us you're gonna do the work, and that surprised some people.
Mhm.
So,
And So that last bullet of, again, we can leave it in here, but you can think about it, is the provision for, we think how the town will kind of grow with these provisions for outdoor showers, or, I mean, outdoor kitchens, and more recreational things in the yard. That it kind of fits into other structures, but it's not it's not a structure, it's not a permanent thing. How we wrap the language around those, if it's, you know, a square footage thing.
Because it's also non-permeable. I mean, if somebody puts in a big outdoor kitchen with a 20-foot long granite top, I mean, that then has a calculation for
We
permeable.
just have one.
Yeah, and I think you're just gonna see more and more of that, and it's not really captured anywhere. I mean, when you approved my bar, you had to say, well, how do I make this fit? Because there was nowhere to kind of go.
Well,
It's
we
like,
added
is it?
your lot coverage.
Yeah,
Right,
but I mean, you had to say, is it it's a structure, but it doesn't have two walls, or, you
We're
know.
starting to see more of those, one-offs.
Yeah,
That was never, because again, you're never gonna write every ordinance to cover
Yeah,
every
exactly.
situation.
exactly.
And so, yes, we're starting to see more of it now come into the historic district, that people want to put their tacky outside bars.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, you know,
This way, whatever that.
You have no
that
microphones
language
here,
is to maybe direct somebody for where to go if they want to do it,
yeah.
was the thought of how we
Right.
threw that in there. We didn't necessarily have the solution, so that's still the topic that
The key thing on all of those, while it may not require historic district, it always requires zoning review and approval. Any structure going into anywhere in the
So,
town.
yeah, we just,
Yep.
however that language is gonna read,
Yep.
Yeah, I just think, oh, I want to do an outdoor kitchen, where do I go? And if you see it on
Yeah.
that list, then
yep.
you guys can figure out where to tell them to go and what they need to do, but I think it's something they're gonna look for.
yeah.
But
But
we
again, the original
still have
idea
to-
was to make this as comprehensive as possible, so it is kind of like every homeowner could easily go to it and have a better understanding of what the process would be, what they need to do for clarity for all of these.
And again, even though it's a zoning requirement, the whole purpose of the 10C was, does it have to go through an historic review?
Right.
So a fireplace, is that historic? Outdoor kitchen, is that historic? That I think we can explore a little bit more.
And it is, on those few items, you guys come down and we just say it's exempt from historic review.
There you go.
And we use that phrase or that block that we have. Okay, that's fine, we can add that too.
Anything else?
I was gonna say, this was great.
Yes.
Thank you for-
Thank
Thank
so
you
much.
guys for your hard work.
Yep. And a day out of your life.
It was
Thank you.
a lot of conversation around our dinner table. But, I mean, ultimately, I think this list is addressing what you as town council were wanting. And it was exhibiting what the Civic League is trying to do in supporting town staff. The hours that we spent drafting this for them to look at is hours that they can spend doing their other duties that they need to do as well. And it doesn't keep anybody out of the process, it's just helping relieve some of the workload where we can.
Thank you again.
Much appreciated.
Yep.
Great job,
And
thank
that
you.
being said, could I get a motion for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.